Howdy guys, Bookie Laura here. 2017 is drawing to a close at quite a rapid rate. I mean, I'm quite alarmed at how quickly December is flying by, but then it always is, so I don't know why I'm surprised by that. But anyway, the Goodreads year in review has been unleashed on the world, which means that it's time to look back at the books I've read this year and choose my top 5. I want to say right from the get-go that these are in no particular order. I don't feel that I have a favourite book that I've read in 2017, but there are quite a few books which stand out to me. So I chose 5 based on the books which I've given a 5-star read to, and actually I found it surprisingly easy to choose my top 5. Book number 1, Letters from the Lighthouse. This was my first experience at reading an Emma Carroll book, and I absolutely adored it. I think that it's a middle grade book set in World War II, and then I met her later on in the year, so all these things were very successful. But I think for me what I really liked about it was that it was a cracking mystery story. Like, I really like when there's an intrigue and a question and you are drip-fed the information but you don't know the answer straight away. And even though it was middle grade and I should probably have the intelligence to figure out what was going on, I didn't. The second book, which appears on my top 5 books this year, is The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. I think this is going to be on a whole host of top reads for 2017. I find it hard to articulate what it is about that book that I liked, because I think I found a lot of the style of writing at times a little immature for my liking. I think I've gone off YA a little bit this year, but that you cannot get away from the fact that the subject matter of this book is so important at the moment. It deals with issues around racism and the access to guns in America and a lot of things that are so important in the world at the moment. So I think that is the reason that it appears in my top 5 books. I think that it's a book that everybody should read to just really open their minds and see things from a different perspective. The third book, which on my top 5 books this year, is The Boy with One Name by JR Wallis, I think. This is a book which I picked up at Salisbury Literary Festival, and it's basically surrounding a monster hunter who doesn't want to be a monster hunter, and then a girl comes along who does want to be, and she's told she can't because she's a girl. And I think as soon as I knew that that was the basic plot, I was like, I need to read this book because it has a really strong female lead character, and that is something that really is important to me. And it lived up to my expectations completely. I think that for a middle grade book, it really appealed both. I could see it appealing to both boys and to girls, because the two characters, their lack of chemistry was great, because actually they were just friends. There was never anything romantic about it. There was never anything implied. It was just two people building a really strong, solid friendship, and both being really strong characters in their own right. And that was quite incredible to see. Plus monsters, plus excitement. The fourth book which I've put on my top 5 books for this year is The Confession by Jo Spain. I read this really late on, and I think I kind of knew right from the get-go, right from the moment that I received this book, I knew I was going to love it, because the whole idea of it just sounded amazing. It's basically a crime thriller, but on the first page, I think the first page, you find out who committed the crime. I know, you don't see that often. And then the whole process of the book isn't about discovering who done it, it's about discovering why they did it. And I think I was really intrigued in that concept right from the start, and it really did pay off. I was completely hooked. I needed to understand why he did it, and I thought it was a really cracking book. I was delighted with it. And then the fifth book, which I've decided to include in my top 5 books of this year, is The Unmumsy Mum by a person whose name I don't remember, I'm afraid. I just know her as The Unmumsy Mum. That's really bad, isn't it? But anyway, I think for me, I talked about this book earlier in the year when I read it, but it was the best non-fiction book that I read this year. I think that it deals with issues around parenting, but the reality of parenting. So often nowadays you're faced with that kind of Instagram parenting thing where you look at everybody else and you think, wow, everybody else is doing a really good job, and the reality of it gets lost. And I think The Unmumsy Mum, through both her book and her social media, really highlights the reality of parenting and the fact that actually everybody is getting tons of stuff wrong, and that's okay because we're all doing a good enough job. And I think she got the humour and you could really connect with it, and I absolutely loved it and would definitely read more books from her. So those are my top 5 books of 2017. Have you read any of them? If so, let me know. If let me know what your top book was of this year. I would love to see more people do this kind of thing. Because I think when you watch wrap-ups and things like that, you get an idea for how people feel about books. But actually, after all the reading that you've done in a year, to choose your favourites gives a really strong message about those books. So it would be really cool to see what you guys have enjoyed this year. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.